Thank you for joining us on 420 grams, Euro coverage special. भाई देखो क्या हुआ है, इटली ने धूम मचा दिया है. That's the right way of saying it. And they've gone on a 29 match unbeaten run now, courtesy of that 3-0 win versus Switzerland, which is huge. Their record for the national team going unbeaten is 30, so just one win away from it. And who'd bet against them breaking that record, in this tournament. So when you're talking about Italy and you talk about, someone from Delhi trying to act Italian, and also the only way you can say, well, the photo and we're going to talk about the Italian. That's the maximum that you can do, because uske aage Italian aati hai nahi. But you know what? The focus is going to be on that team that everyone is touting as tournament favorites for Euro. And to talk about it, we have two usual suspects as well. Former India player Ishfaq Ahmed, Siddhant Annie. And today joining us from Italy is Supriya Bhatt, who now makes this a quartet of 4 Arsenal fans, because खबर तो ये आई है कि after that performance last season, Arsenal fans ज़्यादा दिखते हैं नहीं. Supriya, welcome to the show. Good to have you with us.
Thanks, Arjun.
Supriya, just tell me about Italy. Yeah, what's the buzz like? Because how do I put it? A very un-Italian way of playing. Because Italy prides itself in sort of that, how do I say, tactical, defensive football, outthink the opponent off the ball, and suddenly comes this expansive style of football post Mancini. Was there ever resistance to this style of play, or the Italians are lapping it up?
I think that, when you come from where they were, a World Cup without Italy in 2018, I think at that point, anything was better. I think Mancini's 3 years in and he signed another 5 years on his contract. So they're in it for a long-term project. And I think Italian football needed a revival. As we were chatting earlier, the actual league has been so competitive for a while that it was only time that the national squad started reflecting this. It's incredible. It's a united team. They're hungry, they're enthusiastic, they're playing adventurous and attacking football, which for a long time isn't words I would have associated with Italian football. And I think one of the big things I took away from yesterday was everybody who played and was interviewed said, "Questa squadra è una squadra," which means this team is a team. I tried to do a little bit better than your attempt at Italian.
Yeah, at least during at least you spoke proper Italian. You validated the show.
Look, they're playing a really united, cohesive game, and it's really exciting to see. I think that it's giving Italy some life back. I think Mancini said yesterday, we did this for all the Italians and everyone's suffering in the world. And I think it's just a nice moment a year and 3 months after the pandemic hitting.
I'm going to ask you the most obvious question a news channel always asks a sports reporter outside a stadium. What's the buzz like? The fact that 25% people are going back into the stadium, and Italy was really badly hit in this pandemic.
Yeah.
The
so
stadium
was on fire yesterday. Stadio Olimpico, look, I mean, Italy is already one of the few countries in the world where 4 of their biggest teams share stadiums, right? Stadio Olimpico is home to Lazio and to Juventus and to Roma. San Siro is home to Inter and Milan. So already the fans are just such a major part of the game. But it felt like a carnival. To me, at least watching from home, it was probably one of the louder games I've watched, barring Hungary that was at full capacity. Just really exciting to see. You feel like there's some life coming back.
And has the media gone into overdrive? Like saying Italy are world champions, we are assuming anything
no,
less?
I think they know a little bit better. I mean, let's not forget that we actually we skipped an entire World Cup. I think people are being cautious. I don't think anyone wants egg on their face. And with the Italian team, it is possible. Look, we've played Turkey and Switzerland. Neither have been incredible. Even though a lot of people are talking about Turkey as being a dark horse, I didn't see it. And I don't think they've played that way. So let's see. Let's see in the round of 16 in the quarterfinal.
Ishfaq, what do you think?
I think I cannot agree more with Supriya. She was there, like both the teams they played. I felt both the teams didn't play up to their potential, but you have to give credit to Italy also, the way they played, like as a team. And I thought that was brilliant, like people coming from defense and showing that character. They want to score goals. Like you see, like there is a confidence in team. They are playing. Like none of whole team is playing like a team, not depending upon one single player who will score goals. But I still believe they still have to do a lot more than this what they have done, because I feel like the amount of in both the matches, the amount of chances they created was too many in international level, and conversion rate was bit where I am disappointed, because when you will get a stronger team, that might have that effect where
आप क्या कह रहे हो कि एम्बापे पत्ते शो करा देगा कि एलिनी
एम्बापे सबके पत्ते शो कराता है भाई ये वो उसका वो BMW मोटर बाइक साथ में होता है तो बाय बाय टाटा सबको करता है but yeah, like that's what the real deal is when you will qualify from the group stages, and you will obviously will be facing some tough opponents, and honestly I haven't seen their defense yet tested. Mind you, they are a bit senior players there. Like when there will be the pace, we need to judge them also that time.
But Ishfaq, what is the balance for you? Okay, so you've got two senior players who are not the fastest of guys. Agreed. I don't think anyone will disagree with you. But tactically, and you would know this, if I position myself really well and I add another defender to sort of cover me, then you can see through a game.
See, traditionally, if you talk about Italian teams, they defend well. Their defense always has been the strongest point. When you have such an experience in defense, they know how to deal with the pace. It just I always, when I have my coaching classes also, football is always about 2 yards left, 2 yards left, 2 yards front or 2 yards back. That makes a huge difference. So players, when they have such amount of experience, they know how to deal with it. They may just, like if right now they are having a higher line, it's very simple. The coach has experience. They might have a 2 yard lower line, deeper little bit. So that's how they will definitely negotiate. But sometimes, like on counterattacks, that can be a bit difficult the way they are playing, whether they will play the same. I'm again saying the players who are scoring the goals for them are not the regular goal scorers. Like the main strikers are creating but not hitting the target, even though like they look really good with the ball. But when you have a good strong opponent, can you take those chances, which is very important.
I guess you'll only figure that out once they get out of the group stages. It's a given now. They're moving out of the group stages. Round of 16. भाई आपने कैलकुलेशन करी है, कुछ तिगड़ा लगाया आर्यभट्टा मैथ्स का कि who are they facing?
एक तो भाई पहले तो ये कहना चाहूंगा कि बहुत कॉम्प्लिकेटेड बना दिया है भाई ये थर्ड प्लेस वाले इक्वेशंस ने.
Sir, nothing can be do like AFC. All 5 qualify.
Yeah.
Correct group stage kara do.
It would have made this nonsense much simpler. But anyway, I mean, I'm envisioning a pretty deep run in this tournament for Italy. Yeah, the way they started this tournament.
Aren't they the first team to already qualify?
They've qualified, yeah, pretty much for the next round. And the way we are seeing it, maybe Austria, most likely Ukraine they face in the round of 16. And then will be the big one against Belgium in the quarterfinals. So that's what my chart is telling me.
Why do you say Ukraine? You are or Austria? They will third best runners up from the group.
By second place in the group.
So third वाले कहाँ गए फिर? They're not facing the third वाला team.
They are not facing. So it's winner group A versus runner up group C.
Bro, this is complicated, man.
Yeah. Huh? It took a few hours, to kind of do all the points calculation, and even then, because of the third place kind of complications, the best I've come up with is that it will be on goal difference between a few teams. So
सही निकला ना AFC में तेरा job पक्का.
Sir, I'll tell you. So Supriya, you know what happened in India's group, right? So we are Tindore repeated, come on, we got to finish third. We got to move into third round qualifyings because then we get to play 4 more games, international games. India doesn't get these many games. We've done it. We've qualified as third. And we've Dindore beat the well done, India, you qualified third. Next day, you get to know all 5 teams have qualified for the third round. It's the best. No complication only. Simple, easy.
बांग्लादेश कोच ने तो यहाँ पे बोला था कोई बात नहीं, हम लोग देखते हैं आगे क्या करेंगे, क्वालिफाई हम लोग आगे नहीं पहुंच पाए, अब वो भी लड्डू बांट रहे हैं.
सर बांग्लादेश को सरप्राइज मिल गया. They were saying we are not, our aim is not to get to third round. उनको तो सरप्राइज मिल गया कि ये लो जी, हैप्पी दिवाली, continue please.
So the entire world is playing football at the moment. There's South America's playing, AFC's on, the Euro's on.
Yeah, and I think the rest of the countries are playing friendlies as well. There were a bunch of countries from the African Confederation that were playing friendlies and stuff. So pretty much everyone's at it. Yeah.
Burundi, Algeria was suspended. I didn't know why, but it's true. I saw that Africa were playing as well.
So everyone's playing. Plus transfer season is on. Lots of chatter going on in this 1 month. And transfer season. Yeah, Supriya.
No, sorry. I was just in terms of what Sir was saying about Italy. Locatelli was small rumor, not a major rumor, linked to Arsenal about a week ago. I think the article.
But there goes his career. Yeah.
But as he mentioned, obviously Immobile, he's already scored a lot of goals for Italy, but he should have scored a lot more. Like for me, when I finished watching the game yesterday, I was kind of like, yeah, we won. But the quality of our main strikers was not where it should have been. Immobile should have scored at least a goal, if not two. He missed at least one sitter to me. But to see Locatelli and Berardi play that 1-2, that first goal and that second goal were just unbelievable. I have to say.
Ishfaq, though, I think the Immobile thing is, his record, club and country is like, miles apart. But the good thing from an Italy perspective is, sir, 2 games played, 2 goals scored. He scored 2 in the starting 2 games. Plus, coming into the tournament, I think his record was 4-6 for Italy. So he's gathering momentum, and that can always be good for the team.
I think you remember when we did the first show also, even when we were talking about India, that the club and the international football is completely different. The pressure level and all those are that is also different. I'm happy, I think player like him, when he's already scored 2 goals in both the games, he should have confidence level very high. And as Supriya was saying, he many times he was like in a really, really good position where in clubs, day in, day out, you will see scoring him from those positions. But unfortunately, over here, he has not been that clinical, or that something is missing. Whether it's a self-belief, sometimes players do have, that self-belief missing. They can do it here also. And if in next match also, there is something wrong, then if in next match he of already scoring 2 goals in 2 matches, if that momentum won't get him through to score more goals, then nothing will do. We say players, coaches usually give confidence on that, but the main confidence comes when you score goals, especially for the strikers. Absolutely. It doesn't give confidence to you only, but to entire team. One striker is scoring goals. The whole team feels confident.
Also, the stadium really got behind him, because I think that if Italy had finished 2-0 and Immobile hadn't scored yesterday, he would have not. That momentum would have been gone. He would have been kicking himself. So at a certain point, the entire stadium was cheering his name, because I think they realized he needed to finish.
Is he the guy? There's a lot of chatter around. Immobile scored today. Immobile did not score today. Is that kind of chatter always around?
Yeah, because I think Insigne and Immobile are traditional big strikers on the team, right? Locatelli plays for Sassuolo, for example. So I don't think anyone who doesn't really watch regular football even knew who he was. So
only Arsenal watch.
And those who play Football Manager.
but anyway, good point on Immobile gathering momentum. But even if he doesn't gather momentum, thodi padhai kari maine, the way they're set up in the 4-3-3, Immobile can come deep, right? And you have Berardi, who, for me, this guy has been the player to watch. What a story. 9 years. I thought he's a new young guy who's come in. He's 26 years old. 9 years he's been in Sassuolo, right? So he can come in, Insigne can come in, and it can turn into a 4-4-2 or a guy behind him. So that the kind of variations this team has and how they can switch play in case one guy is not working is a really good thing going forward.
Yeah, you're spot on, man, in that sort of tactical roundup. And it seems to also be something that's working for a bunch of teams in this tournament. We're seeing more teams reverting or at least shifting to a 4-4-2 kind of shape for some period of the game, depending on match situations. I think we saw France do the same for large chunks of the Germany game. Of course, Sweden from the beginning lined up like that, and they had a solid outing against Spain. So, it's good to see that some old school tactics and ideas of how football can also operate are coming back into the scene. And maybe because of the league, the Italian league, and the kind of recent success they've had, the kind of diversification of the top teams in that club competition, they've managed to bring in this mixed and all players' tactical awareness, ability to adapt. All of these things, I think, are coming together really nicely in this tournament to give people like us at least enough to talk about.
Okay, so we've spoken about Italy and we're through with our first segment. It's time now for our second segment, which focuses on stuff off the pitch. And off the pitch today, we've got an interview with someone. Marko Arnautovic of Austria has been suspended for one game by UEFA for using insulting language towards a fellow player after scoring against North Macedonia in their opening game. Arnautovic reportedly racially abused Alioski, who plays for Leeds, by the way. And so our producer, someone whose face you never see, but today you will see, Vaibhav Raghunandan, spoke to Nikola Staritz, a football coach who also works on anti-discrimination education about racism in Austrian football. So we're going to jump into that conversation with a start by talking about the Austrian captain, David Alaba.
I think now he's well known and he's also perceived as role models, and kids are running around with like Alaba t-shirts, and everybody is like seeing, okay, the transfer now to Real Madrid, and like it's really interesting for everybody. But it took longer time for him to become a role model in Austria. I mean, he's very successful since the last 10 years and more with like Bayern Munich, one of the best teams in the world. And I would say if he would have been like a white guy, he would have become a role model earlier. So like I would say Alaba had to be a lot more successful than any other whitey would have had to be to become this person in Austria. This is the one thing. And the other thing is like Alaba, he played with FK Austria Wien until he was 15, I think. And then he quite very early he changed the club and started to play in the Bayern Munich youth. I think he was 16. So like even though the league in Austria is not so well, if a person is not playing in Austria, then in particular in the youth age, then like I think many people did not know Alaba in his first years when he played for Bayern Munich, because he was so young when he left Austria, and just a few people followed his career in the beginning. So like, I mean, he, after the 1 to 3 years, then he started to play in the first team of Bayern Munich. And then like he became a little bit more famous. But of course, I mean, racism is a big thing. And I would say the fact that he's a black man, different. I mean, there's on the other side in Austria at the moment, if we talk about like racism and xenophobia, the main thing is like against people coming from Muslim countries. So, I mean, a good thing for Austrian von Alaba is at least he's a Christian. So like this, if he would be, honestly, if he would be like a black guy with like a Muslim background, then the story would have been different again. So like, but I can remember very well, and when it was like 7 years ago or so, and Alaba already was very, very famous. I mean, a black Austrian player, and like one very high level Austrian politician, he shook his hand and started to talk English to Alaba. I mean, this is Austria, yeah? I mean, and then Alaba answered like in this classical Viennese style.
Yeah, that's Austrian. What I've heard. I've heard that he's
like, he just said like, I'm sorry, you can talk German to me, Austrian to me. I'm from Vienna, so.
Yeah, I've heard
like
that his German is very Viennese. Like apparently
yeah.
he uses phrases that are very Viennese, and he talks like a lot like that. And I'd seen this in an interview on like something on Bayern Munich or something around that. So he's obviously very connected to home, and he has this like very deep connection to Vienna also.
Yeah.
So,
but I think this small episode, it shows a little bit like how the situation is in Austria. I mean, this politician did not want to be mean, but of course, I mean, he could not imagine that there is a Black Austrian who's grown there, speaks Austrian as he does. So, like, it's really sometimes a little bit Middle Ages here, and you have it all the time. And then, of course, you have like the hard and open racism. You also have not so much not so much if you look at the elite clubs, because here, of course, like, I mean, if you're playing in the first leagues, then like you have players from all around the world. If you would not be open for that, then you would not be successful. So like, this is like a globalized football market. So being racist as a top club is just, I mean, yeah.
Have clubs in Austria been taking the knee or whatever in support of, for improving and to combat racism? Like English clubs have been doing it for a year now. Have clubs in Austria, did they do it at all? I mean, I have conflicted views about this now, but I just want to know if Austrian clubs and players have been taking the knee and stuff. Anything of that sort?
Yeah, taking the knee, and interesting, the Black Lives Matter movement, and they did not anticipate it in Austria, not at all. But of course, clubs are doing something, but honestly, most of it is because of our initiative. And at least once a year, most of the clubs join it, and it's more like campaigning, PR, like going with, you know, the transparency on the field, like we are against racism or we are against homophobia or whatever. We are like changing the topic sometimes, but this is kind of like quite superficial. And also this is something that now is also the UEFA and the FIFA, they also support this superficial campaigning. So somehow the top clubs, they have to take part in this. So it's kind of a little bit an image story. So being racist,
absolutely. That's exactly like what I meant when I said I'm conflicted about this.
So like being racist and not joining these campaigns, like, is not good for the image of a club. So this is the one thing. And the other thing is, are they really doing, you know, from their heart?
Inclusion,
really,
are they doing
for inclusion and also the things that take time. I mean, having this campaign is so easy, but like other things like training their staff or like really education things, or like having spaces where people who are confronted with discrimination can go to, and so the things that take more time and resources. And I would say they're not so, I mean, there are some clubs who are more dedicated here. It's in one club in Graz. They really take the anti-discrimination message a little bit more serious. But others, it's like, it's just always on a very superficial level. And one example, it's very current, in the game against North Macedonia on Sunday, there was this case of Arnautovic, and I mean, he speaks the language, and it was said that he like said a racist statement against an Albanian player. And I don't know what he said, and I don't care, but interesting is the reaction, and the reaction of all his teammates and also the Austrian Football Federation is like, no racism, we never heard racism, I did not ever hear a racist comment on the pitch. I mean, it's just a lie. I mean, I can't imagine that those players really did not ever witness discrimination. And it was always like white players or white officials who said this. So, I mean, how can they say? Perhaps they just don't notice. So I don't care what Arnautovic said, but like the reaction was like the same, like it was 20 years ago. It's like neglecting. If you say, and this is always our role as fair play, we go there and say, okay, come on, Austrian Football Association. There has been like all your supporters shouted homophobic chants. You have to do something. And the reaction is always the same. It's like, what, where? Well, we have to see. No, there was no homophobia. We did not hear it. And then if it's proof, then they say like, we're not responsible for this. This is like a problem of society. So like, we can't change this. We can't do anything. So it's like always these two kind of reactions. And it was the same now. And this just shows that like they don't take the responsibility, not at all. So, even, of course, it's also like a bigger problem in society. But anyway, they as football, as like one of the best funded sport disciplines, could like take the responsibility and say, okay, we want to be role models. We want to make a change. We take it serious. We say, okay, we have a problem. Let's do something.
That was a really nice interview, Vaibhav. That is, of course, our hardworking producer, Vaibhav, who was talking about racism and how people are trying to tackle it in Europe. But ganda joke to marna padega. Now that you've seen Vaibhav, now you know why you don't see him too often on a show. No, but jokes aside, Supriya, the same issue persists in Italy as well. Historically, we've seen Italy, there's an issue, especially you've seen monkey chants. Players have got angry and they have left the field as well. Have they sort of moved ahead from it, or does it still persist in various corners around football stadiums? You're mute.
Amateur move. A year ago, the Syria launched a campaign to fight racism, and all of their posters featured monkeys, just to give you context of how tone deaf it is here. I think similar to what she mentioned, there is racism denial. I think there's a couple of factors at play. Italy in the last 10 years has seen massive economic decline, unemployment, but at the same time, a huge migrant crisis. I think when Balotelli first joined Italy, it started conversations, but nothing has changed. When Lukaku joined Inter Milan and went to Cagliari, which any black player who's been to play at Cagliari, who plays for an Italian side, has heard monkey chants. His own fans, the Inter Ultras, actually defended it and said, hey, Lukaku, and I paraphrase here, welcome to Italy. This isn't racism. This is just what we do. We just like to make jokes. That's insane. Your own fans are telling you, get used to the monkey noises. When Balotelli almost walked off the pitch at the Verona game, the Verona Ultra leader said, hey, listen, this is Italy. We make fun of the way people look. We make fun of ball players. We make fun of the color of the skin. But it's not racism. There's no recognition of what is racism here. I think segregation has a lot to do with it. But if you're not aware, you're not going to be able to fight it. The numbers are shocking. I think that in 5 years, there are 250 cases of racism reported across 5 seasons of Serie A. But if you talk to the average person, they'll say, no, Italians aren't racist, which by and large they aren't.
Ishfaq, if I can bring you into the chat, sorry, Supriya, to interrupt, but more or less, if you can jump back in whenever you feel like it. Ishfaq, so much of your travel has happened through football, and you've been, I think, all over the world now playing the game and with teams. What's your experience been like from that perspective, both with interacting with fans as well as those you may have met just in real life on the streets and things like that?
I think, it's a problem of and education from school. People have been brought up like that. We all know that when we talk about African players here, the first thing for India, everybody is Nigerian. Chalo, Nigeria player. So it's.
आपको शब्द बताऊं क्या बोलते हैं सर? हबशी. हबशी बोलते हैं स्टेडियम में मुझे याद.
So लेके आओ 2-3 Nigerian हबशी को लेके आओ. So it's like first it starts with the disrespect only. They will be available cheap and they it's a big issue. I know many times how people call us you Indians. so there is nothing in Middle East. It's not getting, usually they don't get, it doesn't get reported, but you feel like a second-grade citizen when you are called like that. Like many times, because I'm from Kashmir, so I have faced that on a different way. And people from Northeast, I know they have been racially abused every now and then. But I think the problem starts from the academic education also. Like we're in schools, you have to stress more on that. And then academy, football academies, where you have to, like stress a little bit more, because it's very, very important. And I think football teaches us equality, which, like is, because one of the greatest ever player who played the game was Pele. So I think that is where we should, it should be, everybody should be judged on his talent. I was recently, I don't know, I think whether I shared with you, Arjun, or not, there was a BBC report.
You're now, do a lot was non ci sono negri italiani, which basically means there are no black Italians, which second generation, not so many now in the team. Yes. So this thing about being African, but being Italian, it's another race conversation that's pretty new in Italy. But any player who's played from Boateng to El Shaarawy to Balotelli, the monkey noises, the chants, and then being told, but actually, guys, you need a thicker skin. हम racist नहीं है, हम ऐसे ही बंदर की आवाजें बना रहे हैं. There's no defense of that, but there's also no awareness within fan bases and society in Italy at the moment that doing things like that is racist.
I think denial is the key here, which everyone has mentioned. Nikola, Supriya, Ishwak, everyone has said denial is the main thing here. And just take Arnautovic's case, bhai. You said Ishwak has traveled the world courtesy of football. Here's another guy who's met around the world courtesy of football. So in that sense, वो कहते हैं ना, इंसानियत होती है, वो लोगों को मिलके होती है कि आप इधर-उधर जाते हो, you understand cultures, you sit in societies and all. Despite doing all of that, he's gone and done that, right? So it's so ingrained in you कि वो आपके घर से चल रहा है या आपके फैमिली के अंदर चल रहा है, तो वो वो एक भड़ास निकल रही है. So ठीक है, I think the best part is that you're having a conversation. The conversation is the main thing. That the fact that these players are taking a knee, and while people may be right in a sense saying कि यहाँ superficial है, इससे कुछ होने नहीं वाला, पर उससे ये हो रहा है कि इंडिया में बैठ के 420 ग्राम करके शो है और हम लोग उसके बारे में बातचीत कर रहे हैं, and there'll be 500, 700 other shows will be talking about it, and that is the whole impact of taking that knee. But I guess we're really far away from it. But the great thing is, you're at a starting point, or I don't know where you are, but you're having a conversation about it. Because if you're not having a conversation about it, then this topic is dead, and you have no way to fix it. So that is great. Anything else you guys want to add before we head to web ki baatein?
I wanted to just say something. Whoever, like our new generation coaches, you just have to stop it, from where people think it's all right to say, like you have to correct them, like especially in India, for example, chalo do Nigerian Habshi player ko leke aate. That is where you have to stop it. You have to tell them it's not the right way. Maybe, okay, we can bring Nigerian, Liberian players, which is fine. But the way you are saying it has to be, you have to give them respect. You have to tell them, okay, let's bring 2 good Nigerian players, rather than saying, oh, let's bring do Habshi player leke aate hain. So I think that is where people have to understand. People have to get educated. Habshi, the word derived from long back in Arab. It was a place called Habsha, like where that's what it's like. A Kashmiri player ko leke aao. It's not associated with the black thing and all. Maybe those African people were there, and they have to understand it's the name of a place. That doesn't mean कि वहाँ से white color skin का भी player आदमी हो सकता है. So it's not associated with everyone they are saying. So proper knowledge has to be, and we have to stop them. And in there, जब even players भी casually बोलते हैं, dressing room में भी कभी players casually, but we have to stop it there. Like छोटे से मजाक से भी, it gives you insight by the moment आप एक छोटा सा मजाक करते हो, people realize, okay, it's okay to just joke on this. I think we have to, जैसे हम लोग बोलते हैं बच्चों को गाली देनी गलत बात है, we have to tell them it's equivalent to the Gali only. So it's like we have to stop it there.
ठीक है सर, मैं आपको वैसे अंबेडकर स्टेडियम which is like the hub of taunts, of racial taunts, वहाँ पे मैंने एक बार ही सुना था, हबशी तो बोला था, उसके पहले ये भी बोला था नेशनल ज्योग्राफी के हबशी वहाँ पे खेल रहे हैं। मैंने कहा भाई दिस इज नेक्स्ट लेवल, क्या बोल, एंड उसके आसपास बच्चे थे कि आपको यू प्लेड अंबेडकर, बच्चे आते हैं वहाँ पे देखने के लिए, मैच देखने के लिए. So that's that.
That's a really bad one, huh? I have that's really bad.
Terrible, man. And it's not that. I mean, of course,
हम लोग भी गाली खाते हैं भाई, सिद्धांत, ऐसा नहीं कि हम लोग गाली नहीं खाते उधर.
खाते भी हैं आपस में, जब पिच पे होते हैं तो probably खिलाते भी हैं एक दूसरे को. But वो किस टाइप की गाली दे रहे हैं, किन वर्ड्स का इस्तेमाल कर रहे हैं, वो सब काफी I think मायने रखता है इसमें. And one of the things I've seen, at least in Indian football, is that for what it's worth, now different people can learn different things from different experiences, for sure. Like you were saying about what Arnautovic did, and he also immediately came out and owned up to this and apologized for it. So let's.
Once you know, but there's a full machinery behind him telling him,
fair enough. So part of the conversation is that when a player does something like this, then immediately there are 10, 100,000 people telling him कि भाई ये आपने गलत किया है, including his own captain in this case, David Alaba, who physically told him to shut up, on the pitch. So it's super important what also Ishfaq said, that in a country like India, where players are coming from so many different caste backgrounds, religious backgrounds, economic backgrounds, ethnic backgrounds, that in the dressing room you get this kind of melting pot scenario where people get to experience one another's cultures, and if we learn from it and maybe understand one another and accept what each one of our guests on this show who've learned so much from playing the game with people from all over the country.
Fair point. I'm going to move ahead, but just one more thing, because we said Ambedkar Stadium, na? When I used to play at Ambedkar as a college kid, so the baal the, baal aate the अच्छी तरह. So at that time, my idol was, I used to love watching Pablo Aimar. Now, if you remember, Pablo Aimar used to have that huge head of hair, and so I had grown my hair like that. And I was playing in Ambedkar, and these guys such slime balls. Whenever I would touch the ball, वहाँ से एक section से आवाज आती, अबे ऐश्वर्या, ball छू रिया है, ball हरा रिया. And for the entire season, they kept on doing that. Nothing racist in that, but I thought I'll just put it out there. Time now for web ki baat hai, where we're going to talk about a certain Sergio Ramos, who has left Real Madrid after 16 long years. I think we saw it coming, right? He was first left out of the Spain squad, and now Vishwak, Real Madrid. This guy has been an absolute legend. You can talk about his play acting, you can talk about that he goes in to get players injured. I find him that one of the most street smart players in world football, sir. कि वो मतलब वो दिखा भी देगा कि चोट लगी है, वो चोट मार के भाग भी जाएगा. He's that kind of player.
I totally agree. Like he's definitely a legend in football right now. Like played for Spain for so many years, still playing, and for club. I think if I don't know when you must have, if you can recall whether he was sitting on the bench ever. A first 11 choice, which is a big deal always in a big clubs and for country also. So you are that level of player if you do a little bit playing acting also, which is like people say it's okay, but like with this is that charisma with him, we can say, that aura around him is always Sergio Ramos. Like people, like in India, there are a huge fan following, players want to be like him, like young kids want to go and be like him, that's a good, that's a fantastic thing, like you are not a striker, you are not a midfielder who shows us that fancy skills or scores fancy goals. You are playing a defender. He has been the great ambassador of the game. I think as a defender, he will go to the history, playing for Real Madrid so many, 16 years, and have a trophy cabinet at home. Like how many? I don't know how many European championships he have won.
We don't know trophies because we support Arsenal. So we don't take care. We don't even look at that.
And we should know the trophies because we are always.
The guy has won every big thing to win: Premier League, Euro, nothing left in 6 years or 7 years that I saw. Yes,
it's just massive. It's completely polar opposites on the field. Job
but they have
being
a
the same
similar kind
to
of
protect
job
the team.
anyways.
Job being the same to protect the team, but
Yes.
करने का तरीका completely different, sir.
Completely.
Well, Kante ka ek cheez hai, his energy levels are amazing. I think so far maybe what I remember the defensive midfielder players, he must be the one of the best so far I have seen ever in football, because that is what you need for defensive midfielders. He covers right, he covers left, because defensive midfielder's job is to be the first defender when it's the counter attack or to break up their play, and he does it superbly.
Annie bhai, before you get in, something about Matt Hummels. You suppose Arsenal is your team, even though you might be in denial about it. You know, कि अंदर tattoo दिखा दो आपने कहाँ करवाया है Gunners का.
It's Matt Hummels talking about his most important goal ever. Sorry, it's just funny.